Welcome to the May 25th, 2014 edition of Whatever with Don and Justin. I'm Don and...
Yeah, whatever. I totally ruined your whatever moment, but you know what? 1, 2, 3. 3 licks to get to the center.
Who cares? Gotta get this going.
That cracked me up.
Oh, whatever. All right, welcome to this week's edition of Whatever with Don and Justin. No live stream tonight because we are in a time crunch because the holiday weekend is hurrying things along. But
I want to get drunk and pass out. That's really
exactly. There you go. So, and we all hope you are having a wonderful holiday weekend, an extended weekend. Yeah, safe first, then wonderful. So, tonight we're going to talk about a game that came out last week, Wolfenstein: The New Order. Justin and I both played. He played a little bit of it. I finished it. We both also saw X-Men: Days of Future Past, so we're going to talk about that. And the second half of the show, we'll kind of shift gears and talk more topical, more like discussion of game trailers that reveal a game that it never quite lives up to, right?
Yeah,
so kind of like deceptive or whatever. We'll get into that too. So let's start tonight with a game that released last week, like I just mentioned, and it is called Wolfenstein: The New Order. Should I give a little backstory on Wolfenstein first?
Yeah. Let's do a little recap.
Okay, so the Wolfenstein franchise, for anyone not initiated, I think everyone listening to us will be, but everyone, it started the first-person shooter genre that we know today and is most popular with Call of Duty and all these different things. But I don't know if it was actually the first-person shooter, but I think it's just credited as being the first.
I think it was as conventional. You see your gun.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was first.
Okay, so let's just say it was the first, and it was also the first game, not the first game, but it was the first shooter done by id Software, who went on to make Doom and Quake and Rage, and now the Wolfenstein franchise, it's had several iterations over the years, and it went from that to Grey Matter, a studio named Grey Matter made Return to Castle Wolfenstein. I think it was 2003.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And that was like more of a multiplayer focus. And it's interesting, like every game in the franchise has been made by a different developer. So go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say actually the Return, Return had the multiplayer, but it still had a really good single player.
Yeah, that's true. And I think was it Spear of Destiny? That was the sequel to Wolfenstein. That was also by id Software. Anyway, so you had Return to Castle Wolfenstein. That was done by Grey Matter, who eventually got merged into Treyarch, and now they make Call of Duty. And then the next one was in 2009. That was made by Raven Software, and we've talked about a game by Raven before on this podcast called X-Men Origins Wolverine. And they made that, and they made a cool game called Singularity. And in 2009, they made their own Wolfenstein game, just called Wolfenstein, no subtitle. And that and Return to Castle Wolfenstein had more like dealings with the occult and things like that, and they like spun off into that kind of supernatural era, and
which makes sense. It's kind of like Indiana Jones. The Nazis go after.
Right, and the series is focused around Nazis and Hitler and whatnot. So anyway, this time it's 2014's Wolfenstein: The New Order, and this time it's not only a different developer, it's also a new publisher. It's published this time by Bethesda. The previous ones were published by Activision, and Bethesda is known for single-player games, right? They're known for Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Fallout. They're known for Dishonored, the forthcoming Evil Within. Like all of these games are single-player, and this one is no different. The developers of the Wolfenstein: The New Order game are former members of Starbreeze, who made a game now 10 years old. I can't believe it because I saw a thread today on Gaff about it.
Yeah, me too.
The Escape from Butcher Bay. It was the Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. And that game was a really narratively focused single-player experience, and it was a first-person game. It wasn't really a shooter.
Good.
Yeah, it was really good. It had a lot of stealth, a lot of like
great pacing.
It had a lot it had fist fighting, which was really cool.
RPG aspects.
Yeah, it was nuts. So they are known for that game and another game called The Darkness, which is similar. So now they bring those talents, their pedigree, to the Wolfenstein franchise, and they give us a little bit of a different take on the Wolfenstein franchise. When you think Wolfenstein, most people, I would venture to guess, they think old school shooter, kind of fast paced, nothing but shooting, you know.
Yeah.
This time it's a really story focused game. It's single player only, like I mentioned, and it's really long. It took me 15 hours to get through it the first time through. Yeah, that's really long for a first person shooter. But that's also the other thing, is it's not really an entirely shooter-focused experience. There's a lot of stealth. There's a lot of other elements that are kind of surprised me. I didn't know that they would be so big in the game, but I liked it. So, what did you think of what you played so far, Jess? How much did you play?
I played. I kind of just played past the intro, like prologue. Then I got past that, and now I'm kind of doing stuff after that. So I'm not very, very far, but I have to say that I've been blown away by the game so far. I mean, it's just really intense. The shooting is really solid, and it's Wolfenstein, but it's like, brought to current standards, and it's just got a really nice narrative and really good voice acting.
Yeah, it's pretty. That part really surprised me, actually. The narrative especially surprised me because the story is actually really well told. It's really good, especially for a video game. I hate saying that, but it's true. It's like most game stories are complete garbage. This one's actually, it's silly. It's over the top. Of course, this one, it ignores the occult stuff that the other two games in the franchise brought to the table, and this one is actually, it's a direct sequel to the original game from 1992. So it picks up, they have like, if you look at the character design and stuff, you can tell like he's blonde and blue-eyed, just like the original character was. And anyway, so this time it picks up right after, I think, the end of the first Wolfenstein, and then he goes into a coma and wakes up like 14 years later, something like that. And he wakes up in 1960. And
he's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, where am I? And that's right. He goes into like a daze kind of in an asylum, and he's just kind of like out of it, and then he just kind of snaps out of it and kills his way back to freedom. So anyway, he realizes like things have changed, and the Nazis won the war, and now the world is overrun by Nazis. So literally, they control the world, and it's up to one man, that kind of thing. So
yeah, one man.
It's a silly story if you look at it from that perspective, but the way it's told is really, really cool, because it's the pacing, like Justin mentioned, is really, really strong in it. And there's literally so many locations. There's so many different levels. I think there's 16 chapters total, which is crazy.
And 2 timelines.
Yeah, there's 2 different timelines. So once you beat it once, you can go through again. And there's one part at the beginning, toward the beginning, where you make a key decision, and it branches off into one of 2 timelines based on that decision you make. And once you make one decision, you play through that timeline, then you go back and replay it again. And I'm on the second playthrough now. But the changes aren't like, they're not dramatic. They're not huge. Mm-hmm. You don't go to like,
totally different world.
Yeah, you don't go to like, Jupiter instead of the moon or something. But you know what I mean? Like you go different rooms and whatnot. But it just I don't know, it gives you a reason to at least care about playing it again,
Well, like, for example, in the timeline I picked, I'm hot wiring stuff. Do you do something different in the other one?
You do. You lock pick.
Okay.
You
do what?
You lock pick in the other one.
Okay, so it offers different things to do in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's still good.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing. Better than most games give you.
Gives you at least a little bit more incentive.
There's also there's like a perk unlocking system, sort of like Call of Duty, where you just get different abilities based on what you do throughout the game. You basically complete challenges, sort of like achievements, and then you get like a perk unlock, so you can like throw back grenades and things like that. And I think they carry over into your second playthrough, which is nice, so that you don't have to completely start from scratch the first time or the second time through. And then the weapons and stuff are the same, but that's another thing I liked in this game was the variety of weapons. There's like a lot of not a huge variety of weapons, but like the laser cutter that you get is a really cool little tool to mess around with. I love the environment, how they get the cover and stuff like that involved in the gameplay, because like you can cut holes in these little fences and stuff, and like use it to like take down guys through and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of stealth in it, like I mentioned, which is kind of weird. I didn't expect there to be so much stealth, but I like stealth, so that's a good thing.
And is it good stealth?
And it's that's the thing. One of the knocks I've seen people say is how dumb the AI can be, because you can literally get like right in front of them at times and they don't see you. But I don't like smart enemies in my stealth games, honestly. Like, they kind of ruin it, you know what I mean? So like, it's the fun kind of stealth. And one of the funny things, there's literally a line in the game during one of the cutscenes. You help this guy break out of prison, and he sits there and he's like, "Well, luckily the Nazis are really stupid." And you're like, "Yep." Like, they wrote it into the game. Like, it's
yeah,
just,
they were like, "We got
stupid.
this covered."
Yeah, right. So, but man, the villains are like really cool in this. I love the villains in this game.
They're evil, man. It's
No, they
like
are.
the last game I remember playing that had a villain that I just really despised was probably Far Cry 3.
Yeah, and then he dies like what, an hour, 2 hours
Yeah,
into
well,
it.
a couple hours in, but yeah.
But yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
but,
that's a whole other video.
General Death's Head is the main villain in this, but I also like Frau Engel. She's friggin' crazy. There's actually a trailer. It's basically one of the chapters from the game. It's called On a Train to Berlin, and if you watch that trailer, it's she like makes you play this card game, or she makes you pick like one of two photos, and she tells you it's a test, and she can tell you if you're of Aryan descent or not. And so she's like giving you this test, and she has a gun next to the pictures, and it's all really intense, and you're sitting there like, I hope I'm picking the right ones. And then she like just grabs the gun anyway and like points it at your face, and her laugh is just crazy evil. It's just nuts. One of the other things I've noticed too, people saying on NeoGAF and whatnot, is some German-speaking people are really like applauding the game, because the German apparently in the game is literally like actual German instead of like fake German, like they always do in these games.
Yeah.
They say it's really authentic feeling and sounding.
Oh, that's
and
good.
The Polish people are saying the same thing, basically. Like, what I'm saying is they respected the source material. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
they respected the languages that they were actually imitating.
They went out of their way to
playing.
to make sure they got that right, which is really nice, because that shows that they cared about the story enough to not just fudge something and just kind of go, oh, who cares?
So I'm pretty sure what we're trying to tell you guys here is that if you like first person shooters, and even if you've never played Wolfenstein before, that I think I'd say we both recommend this highly.
Yeah, definitely. It's up there for me. I don't know if it surprised me so much, because honestly, the trailers that were coming out before the game launched were freaking fantastic. They were awesome. And then they did their job on me, and then I would like see the gameplay videos at Gamescom or wherever, and I thought it looked a lot of fun. So I was kind of expecting it to be good, but I was taken aback by how much I actually liked it in the end. And it's gonna be up there as one of my favorite shooters for a long time to come, I think, just because of the way that the weapons feel, just everything comes together really nicely. The game, like I said, you go through so many different locations. You feel like you're going a lot of different places. You're doing a lot of different things. Like, they have everything from like on rails turret sequences to you drive a car at one point to manning a mech. I think you do.
Holy
and
crap! I've been for
there's
a
all
ride.
kinds of crap. Yeah, there's all kinds of crap that you do.
I'm recording it for a playthrough, so I just did some more today. So I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Look forward to that too. So so yeah, definitely. If you are not familiar with the Wolfenstein franchise, you don't need to be, because this is basically a standalone kind of adventure. You don't have to have any history or anything, even though we ran it down for you just a moment ago. But yeah. So definitely check it out if you haven't yet, and if you weren't intending to, I think you should at least give it a look, especially if you like stealth elements and shooters and things that mix it up a lot instead of just doing nothing but shooting like Call of Duty does. Yeah. You can, I have to say, you can do that if you want. You can just go guns blazing and just do nothing but shooting, but it actually is harder that way. And you run out of ammo if you do that too much. So you're actually encouraged. Oh,
I gotta say that in general, I don't think I've yet to play a bad Wolfenstein game. I've liked them all.
I think so too. Yeah, it's kind of strange, huh?
Yeah, it is when you think about it. It's like a series that's lasted this long, and every one of them has been pretty damn good for their time.
It's almost kind of like a Nintendo franchise to me, because it has one entry like every 5 years or so, but each one's good. It's kind of weird. But
funny how that works.
Yeah, isn't it? So yeah, definitely check it out. And another thing I wanted to mention too is it has a lot of exploration, which is kind of nice. You're encouraged to like explore these kind of open hub like levels, and like find secrets all over the place, which is kind of not something that's really seen much anymore. Also, there's a lean system. You can lean in the game and use that to like kind of tactically take out guys, which is really cool. So anyway,
who uses tactics in first person shooter?
oh, who wants that? I just like shooting. It's called a shooter for a reason. It's not a first person tactic game.
I don't want stealth in my shooter, but
I do. I want more like it. So anyway, congratulations to Machine Games. I'm glad that they came out of the gate. Now that Bulletstorm has no chance in hell of having a sequel, maybe you guys can kind of take over for People Can Fly, who's now just an Epic subsidiary and no longer a thing. Sigh. But anyway, and another cool thing though, you know, the exodus that like a bunch of people left Starbreeze that made Machine Games.
Yeah.
But Starbreeze is still making good stuff. Like, I actually liked Syndicate. I thought Syndicate was pretty good, as a shooter especially. And then, you know, they made Payday and Payday 2 and Brothers. And so, like, they're still putting out quality stuff on their own without these guys. And lo and behold, the exodus led to another developer forming, which is Quality, which is, like, awesome. So now we have, like, 2 awesome shooter developers instead of just the one. So there you go. All right, so...
Yeah, that's it.
Next, we're going to talk about X-Men Days of Future Past. I saw this on Friday, matinee show. I saw it on like a gigantic screen. They call it the Extreme Screen or something. It's like their version of IMAX, but it's just a big, regular, ugly projection screen. Anyway, so and they charge you an extra $2 to go see it, but whatever. So I guess let's just start with the basics. What did you think of it overall?
Me?
Yes.
Well,
no, the audience.
Let's see.
Wait,
first off,
let them answer.
Okay, first off. Okay, fine.
Go ahead.
All right. First off, I hadn't been to the movies in months due to, us having the daughter and the pregnancy and
everything.
you
have a daughter? Just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we hadn't been out to the theater in months.
Right.
So with that being said, this was the first movie we really got to go out, and I hadn't seen much on it, so I just knew just barely anything about it. We watched it. I actually came out of the movie happy, impressed. I enjoyed it. I did have some nitpicks, but overall, as a movie, I thought it was a very entertaining movie.
Okay, I agree with you. I thought it was actually good. I'm gonna review it tomorrow. I've put my review off because I have a day off tomorrow. I need something to do. So, but I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really entertaining, and that's the most important aspect of the movie to me. Yeah. So, especially an X-Men film. Let's just say this. X-Men 2 is my favorite. It's one of my favorite comic movies. And I actually just bought it on Blu-ray last week and rewatched it for the first time in, I don't know, 5 years or so. Still holds up. Still really well done. Same director as X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, Bryan Singer. He came back to the franchise after a decade hiatus, and he made that awful piece of garbage Superman Returns. And so he came back to this franchise because they didn't want him over there anymore, I guess. And he still got it, man. Like, that's the thing I liked about his movies was he's able to balance, like, a huge cast of characters. You know, that's, like, the main challenge, I feel, of, like, an X-Men movie is it's a big ensemble cast. You know, it's not just, like, Spider-Man or, you know, it's just, like, it's kind of like the Avengers, but the Avengers have each had their own movie, you know, so, like, you've had plenty of time to flesh those characters out. These guys don't all have their own movie. Wolverine has had his own movie, and is that it? I mean, you know, so you have to give depth to all of these other characters, yet still make them kind of share enough time with Wolverine, who's had his own movies and that kind of stuff. And it's tough to do, but he actually manages to do it, and it's kind of impressive to watch, I guess, because it's like a big, you know, $200 million kind of, I don't know, soap opera kind of thing, because the thing with X-Men movies to me is they're like really heavy-handed, you know, in like their subject matter. They're not like super fun and, you know, just like carefree. They tackle some like really tough issues in these movies. They're not just
definitely. They tack on the emotions and the feels.
Oh yeah. they're super political though, and they could have like absolute boredom, just like, you know, just writhing in their veins, but they don't. They're like actually entertaining, and they actually do kind of get a deeper message across in these movies, strangely enough, than something like, you know, Spider-Man, which is just kind of a throwaway thing because he's white. Who cares? But the thing is,
oh, you so did not go there.
But
okay.
But what I'm saying is there's nothing really underneath, you know, the surface in those movies. They're just what they are. You know, they're just kind of special effects pieces.
Well, see, and that's kind of like where I want to interject here is the movie was great, and like you're saying, I think what you're getting at, like with Spider-Man per se, is that some of these action movies or superhero movies are literally popcorn flicks. And when I say
Right.
that, I mean they're not really there for their drama, their well-written story, or their character. It's more like, hey, let's see how much flashy shit we can put on
Yep.
and action.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not bad to have. Whereas X-Men is more of a almost like a drama,
Yep.
political piece, and it's really well done. But I think like my only complaint with this movie was the fact that I do think there was a lack of action. But I think because of that, that's where you're sacrificing the more in-depth characters. They need more screen time and more dialogue to get this stuff across than just whiz bang boom explosions, etc. Now that's not to say that the movie didn't have enough action stuff to it, because there was a lot of really good scenes. But I think if you're looking for an action movie per se and something with a lot of high octane scenes, this isn't the movie you'd want to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a little talky. Like there's a lot of drama, a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of like, we used to be friends, but we're not. But we have to be because we have a mission in common and blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of funny. Like one of the problems I had was they have to go back in the past and. Like, Wolverine is the only one that can make the trip for whatever reason because he re-heals. I don't know what that has to do with his mental capability, but anyway, he's the only one that can make the trip is the story. And the way they do it is Kitty Pryde, right? Ellen Page's character, I think it's Kitty Pryde. Anyway, she uses her power to send his consciousness back 3, 4, 5 decades into his own body when he was younger. He's like what 200
still
years
looks
old.
The same,
yeah, he's still exactly the same, but he doesn't have his metal on his bones yet, which is kind of cool. But they didn't really do anything with that. I thought that was something they could like have him break a claw or something, but he didn't do anything. But yeah, like anyway, he makes the trip and he has to find Xavier while Xavier's younger and convince him to team up with Magneto, whom they hate each other after X-Men First Class, and it's like. It's really, really easy to get them together. Like, I felt it was a little too easy for them to get them together. Like, it just happened kind of like that, But, I understand it's a movie and, all that stuff. I think my favorite aspect of this movie, though, and this, I guess, is kind of a spoiler, but, so you might want to stop listening now. Justin and I have already seen it. I like how Bryan Singer literally took an entire movie and kind of erased X-Men 3. With this movie.
He kind of erased it all.
He did.
He really he kind of retconned everything. But it really much reminded me of how the new Star Trek movie got their own kind of different timeline thing.
Right.
It made me think of like this was a really smart way to do a reboot with the newer characters and kind of like make it so that all the X-Men lived in the other ones and everybody's happy doing.
Right. It was funny to me though, just because like they showed. Clips from the older movies too, like X-Men 2, and they show like Stryker, and then they show, like clips from him like stabbing Jean in 3 and all this stuff, and it's like, then I just thought all I could think going into it was just like, or coming out of it rather, was like, Bryan Singer just really hated 3 so much, like he's just like, we can't have that existing, so this is what's going to happen. We're going to make it not happen.
C3 would probably go along the more action popcorn flick. It wasn't as wasn't as deep, and I still enjoyed 3. I mean, I've liked all the X-Men.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
But another thing this movie taught me is that Femke Jensen does not age whatsoever.
That's true too.
I saw her, and I'm like, I was like, she seriously still looks like that? Gosh,
what
is she doing?
Oh, that was nice though, seeing her at the end. They did that really well, I thought.
Oh, that whole scene was great.
Coming up to her. And then Cyclops is sitting right there. And he's like, "Whoa, buddy, wait a minute." Like,
yeah, what are you doing?
That was awesome.
But also, I thought the sequence with was it Quicksilver? Was that the character?
Yeah, Quicksilver.
I thought his humor and stuff was excellent. Like during that,
they gave him like they really made him shine with the little time that he had on screen.
Yeah, you felt bad when he was gone. You're like, oh man, he was a good character.
I thought his design was a little hokey though. Look, he's quick and he's silver. Quicksilver, everybody!
But
like, come on, man. What am I?
Especially the sequence 6? He did.
Yeah, no, they did him well. But and they also did the I think he's Magneto's son, right? In the comic, and they actually had the little quip in there. Do you remember? Did you catch that? He's talking about his mom, and he's like, wait, so you can manipulate metal? He's like, my mom knew a guy that could do that.
Oh
like that
yeah.
And everybody's like, what? Like,
and they
nobody...
also showed the Beast guy looking at Mystique at the end there too.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. I like at the very end of the movie, like, again, spoilers, don't care. Very end of the movie, like, all the old X-Men like have cameos. You have Rogue, Anna Paquin like made a little appearance, and she was still with Iceman. And you had Famke Janssen, who you said played Jean Grey. She came back to life. She's alive now in the next movie, I guess. And then Scott Summers, Cyclops was there. Who else? What's his name? Kelsey Grammer was Beast, like momentarily.
Now see, I was debating with somebody on that. I said, would Kelsey Grammer actually come back and get in that makeup
right
for a
2 seconds?
3-second scene?
Well, if it wasn't him, then they
voiceover.
Was it a voiceover? You think?
I don't know, but I would.
It was definitely his voice.
It'd be a voiceover.
It was definitely his voice.
Yes.
If nothing else.
If I was a big time Hollywood actor and somebody's like, "Hey,
well, he's not.
I want to put you in all this makeup for one scene," it'd be either how much you gonna pay me, or I'll do my voice.
That makes me think. One time on Conan O'Brien's show, this is like a total aside, but you know Ice-T, the actor rapper, he was on Conan once, and they showed a picture of him from Tank Girl, and he played like this like rabbit creature. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, but he played. It was like a rabbit he played, and he looked ridiculous. Like it's just a ridiculous makeup job. And they showed a picture of him to the audience, and the audience starts laughing at him, and he goes, "Yeah. Y'all laugh. He goes, "You know what? You know how much they pay me to do that? They gave me $1 million to dress like that for 3 weeks. $1 million." He goes, "You telling me you wouldn't dress up like that?" He goes, "That was a Porsche for me. That was a Porsche." I was like,
it just goes to show.
Good point. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you pay me enough, yeah, I'll dress up in anything you want, pretty much. No, I won't. Don't. All right, we're gonna get all kinds of weird suggestions on Twitter.
Stop it, Don. Stop it.
Yeah, stop it, Adam. I'm not dressing like that. So anyway, all right. So anyway,
so thumbs up for that movie.
Thumbs up, definitely thumbs up. I thought it was really well handled, and welcome back, Bryan Singer. You were dreadedly missed. I actually liked First Class a lot, but that was more of like a popcorn flick. I like how Bryan Singer brings this kind of like really serious element to the franchise, and it
brings character.
It makes it a much more I don't want to say believable or realistic, but yeah, there you go. And much more impactful.
The story is more resounding and impactful on the audience than if it was just like cheap, very low. Shoot, why can't I even think of the word? Very just, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Low character development. You just don't care. Like there's been movies plenty of times I watched. I just don't care about the characters, so it just doesn't really.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, Brad from Bloody Disgusting, the guy that I do reviews for, said on Twitter his thoughts of it today, and he said he thought it was a really strong script, and one of the things that led him to that was like every bit of action helped like the plot along, basically. Like there weren't any empty scenes, you know. Mm-hmm. It all had a purpose. So that's hard to do, believe it or not. There was only like 4 action scenes.
There's not a lot of action.
But yeah, what action is there is pretty good. All right, so next up we're going to talk about. You remember back in 2012 the reveal of Watch Dogs?
Of course,
specifically what we're talking about. So basically, Ubisoft showed off a trailer, not a trailer, but like a gameplay segment of the game, a little what they call a vertical slice. And what that is like a polished, like made-up version of the game that they intend to release whenever it's finished. That's what they want it to look like. It's also called a target render sometimes. So they showed off this little gameplay sequence, and whenever the specs for the PS4 were announced, which is the stronger of the two consoles, like it's not capable of running the game they showed off in 2012, right? So they've had to kind of dial back some things, and it's not quite to the level visually that it was in that reveal. And it kind of set off an alarm in people. Like they were kind of like, well, isn't that false advertising or something? Like isn't that kind of like an empty promise? You show us something and we're never going to get it. Why are you teasing us like that? So there's a big discussion that's been going on for the past few months about Watch Dogs, in particular because of this. And people have called it a downgrade. They said it's been downgraded. It's a huge downgrade from the original reveal. Whether or not it is or isn't, I don't know. I guess we'll talk about that in just a second. But I actually got an early copy from Ubisoft. They were actually They're tonight's fake sponsor, and they actually gave me an early copy of the release commercial, the radio spot for the game itself. So this is what we're talking about. And we'll be right back. This is a message from Ubisoft about Watch Dogs. Hey, what do you do?
Get down.
Okay.
What are we doing? Just watch.
Okay. What are we watching?
There they are.
Wow, this is great. I haven't had this much fun in ages. Watch Dogs. The downgrade is real. Rated E for everyone. All right, so it's
It's not like that's not a done to death joke, but damn, was that funny?
It went from a Grand Theft Auto clone basically to just like a dog watching sim.
Downgrade big time.
Rated E for everyone, which is it's not really what they showed and promised. You know, it's a totally different game. Yeah. So anyway,
I'm buying it. I gotta get that walking simulation down.
I think it's made by the Imagine guys for Ubisoft. So
does it have any connection with Tokyo Jungle?
It should. That would be great, wouldn't it? Anyway, so.
Do you choose regular food or kibbles and bits?
So the game actually is it's pretty much a Grand Theft Auto clone. I'm speaking from stuff I've seen, but it looks fun and it looks like it's going to be, a really in-depth game with a lot of stuff to do. But visually, I guess it's not going to match. I mean, I think they've pretty much admitted that it's not going to match the reveal from 2012, right? Because for anyone that knows anything about computers, gaming rigs anyway, it was made for a PC with 3 GTX 680 graphics cards, which were $500 a piece at the time, top of the line stuff, running in SLI, which is 3 in one machine. And I think it was like an 8-core processor or something. It was crazy, and it was something that like the PS4 is like way less powerful than that machine from 2 years ago. And it has to be scaled down to fit on the PS4. And even on the PS4, it still runs at 1600 by 900, like it's not even running at 1080p. So like it's obviously a really ambitious game, but at the same time, it also has to run on the Xbox 360 and PS3, right? So
yeah,
it's still cross-gen, and it still has to run on these old machines, and it can't be like just as ambitious as they wanted it to be, and I don't know, like I don't know really how I feel about this, to be honest with you, because
I know how I feel.
It's I don't think I really care, honestly.
I don't either. I mean,
go ahead.
I kind of think if you didn't realize that was how it was going to be to begin with, I mean, considering it was a multi-generation game, come on. Anytime you make a game that's meant for other older systems and the newer systems, the cross-gen era, there's going to be sacrifices.
Right. I think that way about this game in particular. I guess one of the most famous examples is the Killzone 2 trailer. Remember that back in E3 05? Oh, yeah. That game was, it was a CG trailer they showed off that they were pretending was gameplay at first, and then they eventually said, no, okay, it was rendered, it was CG. But the final game won't look different from that. The final game ended up I thought it ended up pretty close to it. Other people disagree. Other people think it's not even close at all. When you're talking like flat out graphical effects, probably not. It's probably not close to that trailer. But Watch Dogs on PC, at least, like from what I've seen, it actually is not that far off from the reveal trailer. Regardless, it still looks really good at times. Some of the texture work is kind of wonky at places and stuff from what I've seen, but like a lot of it's stunning, honestly. Like especially at night with the rain and stuff like that. And
see, here's what I think is the problem, though. It's a little bit of both ends, because on one hand, I think companies need to do a better job of basically saying this is in production, this does not exactly represent the full title. They always need to make that very clear, no matter what they're showing, how early it is, because things change in development. But I also, on the other hand, think it's the community that blows things out of proportion, and they expect these games to look exactly the way they were shown, to be exactly the way that that they were. Now, there's a difference between something like Watch Dogs and Aliens Colonial Marines. Now, there was a huge disconnect there with Aliens. but I don't think with everything I've seen, Watch Dogs is that different. Yes, it might not be as bells and whistles with graphical effects, but it still looks like the damn game that they showcased, back in that E3.
Yeah, the thing too is like the scene they showed off in 2012 was, I don't think it wasn't a cutscene per se, but like it had cutscenes in it, and the in-game cutscenes to me at least look like that part, that render, that thing they were playing. The one thing I think Ubisoft can be knocked on for this is they had a guy like playing with like a PlayStation controller or something on stage, pretending to be, I don't think he was actually playing it. I think it was actually pre-recorded.
Yeah, it was just staged.
Yeah, and he was, he had the controller up on stage in front of the screen, like pretending he was actually controlling it. That's pretty misleading. Like, honestly, I don't think.
I mean, even if he was playing it, it probably wasn't on the PS4 or even if it was on the dev kit, for example.
Right.
It's a representative, and I think they need to do a better job of not blurring the lines of
that's what I mean.
This is what you're gonna get. I think, like, they need to just know, like, hey, this is in progress.
Because when they do that, it seems like they're going, hey, this is it. Like, this is we're playing the game. Like, this is what's gonna look like. Yeah.
In reality, it's kind of them going, this is what we want it to be.
Right. Exactly. And like I said, it's done a lot of times. Like, it's done a lot with like target renders and things. But a lot of times they say implicitly on the demo, they'll say footage. Target footage or something. It'll say, beta not representative of the final footage or whatever. Another one you mentioned, Alien Colonial Marines. That was egregious. That was honestly like, what happened? Like, seriously, that's a totally different game, the way it ended up looking.
Yes.
And I think the other thing is, the other end of the spectrum is like people say, do you remember the days where like the trailer kind of ended up looking worse than the final game? Like, for example, the Zelda demo on the GameCube, and I think it was Space World in 2000, and it was like Ganon versus Link, and it was like that iconic fight between the two of them.
Yep.
And eventually we got that in the form of Twilight Princess, and Twilight Princess arguably looks a lot better than that trailer did, and it's like the final version of that game ended up with tons more texture detailed, everything, and I guess people would like to go back to the point in time where they kind of show off like a loose concept, and then as time goes on and they become more familiar with the hardware, then it'll end up looking better over time.
Yeah, they build on it. They showcase something better, and I think I also think it's actually kind of ingrained in our psychology, in our mind. It's like when we see something at one point and we get a final product, which is the end product.
Right.
You want to, in general, see something better. It's like watching a movie before you do post-production, and there's missing effects.
Yeah, when
they get done with it, guess what? All those effects are in, and now you got the fully watched.
Yeah, it's like it's like X-Men Origins Wolverine when it leaked and there were no effects in it at all, and then you watch the final cut of it and you're like, wow, this
still
much
sucked. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Yeah, they unfortunately couldn't cut out. Is there a version of that movie kind of like the Phantom cut or the Phantom edit? You know what I'm talking about? The Phantom Menace with Jar Jar cut out, where Gambit is removed, because that would be a much better movie in that case. But anyway, they take Deadpool out too while you're at it. Just make it like a 4-second long movie, and it'd probably be 100 times better.
That was a more popcorn flick.
Yeah, a lot of popcorn needed to be eaten during that movie.
But I mean, like I said, I think it's kind of psychologically in our brain to do stuff and kind of like judge things that way. And I mean, the thing with the trailer thing, like you're talking about, not only is it sometimes, this is what kind of blows me away too, because then sometimes when you show something that isn't exactly glorious, people start saying something's going to suck. For example, let's go back to some of the people that were saying that the Evil Within at PAX, they showed a demo.
Oh yeah.
They said they didn't. It wasn't hands on, and they were like, oh, the character doesn't really speak, or he doesn't seem like he cares about what's going on in his mind. Blah blah blah. And I'm like thinking in my head, well, since when do all characters have to talk and react? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that's besides the point. But then fast forward about a week or so ago, there was tweets saying, hey, the press got to play a 2-hour preview on hands of the game, and most of them were saying that they were terrified. They was exciting, and they can't wait to tell people more about it which is supposed to be, I think, at the end of this month. So I think next week, about their experience. But most were saying it was a positive experience. So I'm just like, there again shows you that sometimes just showing stuff early when it doesn't look good, you get a crap rep. Showing stuff early that looks better than the final thing, you get a crap rep. And just this community sometimes just sucks ass. That's just all I would say.
It's inconsistent. It's inconsistent. Justin's a little worked up. It's inconsistent, and that's kind of frustrating. Like
it is.
It's frustrating not only like and as far as this kind of opinion goes, but like back to Wolfenstein: The New Order. You got what I feel honestly is one of the best delivered game stories in years, and you got something. I mean, look, I like BioShock Infinite, but I thought the gameplay was pretty lackluster in that game. It was actually pretty formulaic, I thought, but like. Like because the story was good in that game, it gets like mid-9s. Wolfenstein: The New Order gets knocked points off because it doesn't have multiplayer. Well, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like a lot of inconsistency in the industry, like in general. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know where to fall on it because in some instances it bothers me that they're completely BSing this thing like Aliens, Colonial Marines, and it's like, I guess it's only when the game really sucks you really care. You know what I mean? Like the other thing though, I guess, is Watch Dogs was probably like I think it was the first real next gen game shown off. Because remember at E3 2012 they were showing it and they were like, well, we're not announcing platforms yet because those platforms haven't been announced yet. That kind of thing, and people were going, oh wow, this is like it was like Star Wars 1313. This is like a next gen experience. This is what next gen graphics look like, and it's like. Now that it's been downgraded...
Expectations weren't in check.
Yeah, and it's like, now that it's been quote-unquote downgraded by some people, like, I honestly, having seen the final version running on PC, it is not far off, honestly. Like, in the max settings, it's really not far off.
You're a liar.
From videos I've seen, anyway, but that's what I'm saying, is like, and the gameplay is still intact, like the getaway, in the car at the end, and... causing the traffic accident from the traffic light being changed and all that stuff, all that stuff's still in there. Like, none of it was dropped, and none of it was, like, too ambitious to actually put in the final game. So, like, I don't think this is that egregious of an example, Like, people just love to just make a big example out of the thing that was, like, held up as the next gen, messiah for so long.
Did you hear about GameStop? They said this is the most pre-ordered game.
No, is it really?
Yeah, they said this was their most pre-ordered game.
It's honestly, like, especially because of the, I want to say comparisons that would have been made to GTA 5 back when, if it had originally come out in November, and then the subsequent 6-month delay after that, like, I think, honestly, like, this is one of the most hyped games I can think of in a long time.
And there's gonna be people that are disappointed because it has so many things going against it. Really, the reveal, the release date that got bumped. It's been a long time coming, and you're gonna get those people that play it and their expectations were sky high, and they thought it was gonna be something that blew their mind, and instead it's gonna be just a good game to them, and they're gonna think, oh, it's trash.
That's what
it's gonna happen.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny how people just take like what they consider to be not a great game, just a good game, and they go, well, that was a piece of shit later on. And you're like, what? Wait a minute, you said it was good.
Well, let's give a good example of this.
It's a 7.5. Oh, it's shit.
NeoGaf, I posted a thread about wanting to know other crappy games, and I said, I want to know the crappiest of the crap. I want to know something like Bad Boys 2 or something like Ride to Hell. I want you guys to tell me these things. And what do people see? They see the thread that says, I want to know what games you think are crap, and you get BioShock Infinite, Metal Gear Solid, 4. All these games that I'm like, you might not like, and they might have had some problems, but they are not crap.
No, BioShock Infinite's not crap. It's just not, it's not like a 9.5 out of 10 in my opinion. It's like an 8. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Like you're talking about, you wanted, like, if you wanted ideas for your Monday show, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking
so
about.
You're horrible games, like games that are nigh unplayable because you can't freaking load them up, like Watch Dogs on PC.
This off onto another topic we can maybe cover on another episode, but I want to talk about, I guess, why reviews are so important, and when really reviews are just somebody's opinion. Let's talk about that on another episode.
Okay, that's a good topic. Important. I mean, yeah, why do people put so much stock in someone who they don't even know's opinion? That's kind of strange. But, thank God for them because they watch my stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a topic of debate, I guess, because the more we go along and the more effects that we have in games and, the more effects get, like, thrown in at the, cost of frame rate and things like that, especially now, I think more than ever, like, people are more aware of these terms than ever before. You know what I mean? I guarantee you there are people that complain that a game isn't 60 frames per second that probably couldn't even tell you the difference between 30 and 60 frames per second. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that's possible personally, because I think 60 frames per second looks amazing and 30 looks, okay-ish. But still, like, that's a whole different thing too. Like, it's always going to be a topic of contention and debate, and unfortunately, I feel like because Watch Dogs is like the pinnacle, of like next gen revealing, like two years ago, like it's just going to catch the most blowback of any title, at least, in any
doesn't matter how good it is,
point
it's going to get
future,
flack.
The near future. Yeah, and unfortunately too, I hope Watch Dogs doesn't like just eat up Wolfenstein sales wise. I mean, I honestly, like, they both look like they both deserve sales, but I have this weird feeling. I don't know how Bethesda's marketed Wolfenstein, but I hope they've done a good job of it because it deserves it. Yeah. Anyway, so
yeah.
All right, that's all I wanted to say about that. If you have anything to add, go ahead.
No, actually, I think we all hit it really good. Actually, I feel good. I mean, the bottom line is you got some really cool games coming out, guys, and you could be playing much far worse games like Ride to Hell, like Damnation, like Bad Boys 2, Miami Takedown. It's horrible.
Yeah, check out his channel on Mondays, and you'll understand the epitome of bad.
The Mummy Returns.
Oh wow,
shit!
That's almost as bad as the Mummy Resurrected that I talked about last week.
All right. The game format.
We'll go ahead and get out of here.
Yeah.
I think we're done for tonight, guys. I'm kind of pooped.
Me too.
I actually have to go poop. There's a difference.
Oh.
So, what did you learn tonight, Justin?
I learned that I get worked up sometimes when I'm talking about some passionate discussion here.
Well, it's good. It's a good thing. It makes it worth listening to. That's the whole
true.
point of the podcast. We don't, like, I don't get worked up over anything really. I just hate everything and equally. So that's basically how it works for me.
So what did you learn then?
Oh, why did my music stop? That's kind of strange.
Oh, crap.
Whatever. Let's just get
Whatever.
kicking again. Yeah, whatever. So, one of the things I learned, though, was how to restart an MP3. I don't know. I learned that despite looking like the same game from 2 years ago, in my eyes anyway, like, for the most part, Watch Dogs still gets way too much crap for downgrading. And I think it didn't really downgrade because that version of the game never existed. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does.
Like it wasn't a finished game. Like they were showing off. They were showing off a section of the game that they were putting in later that they hoped it might be able to look like that, but it wasn't a playable game by any stretch. So anyway, I just think people get their expectations in check. Yeah, that'll never happen though. Yeah. And if it does, then the gaming industry will kind of honestly be a boring place. It's the only industry I can think of where like people argue over things like pixel counts and things like that. Like the movie industry, you don't see people going like, no, that's not 1.85, that's 1.78 aspect ratio, stuff like that. It doesn't happen.
Exactly. You don't see that.
No, because people pay more attention to. You'll see differences in film and stuff like that being argued, but that's among like the super nerdy, technical, jargon-loving people. Like us. Kind of like us in the gaming world.
Wookiee solo.
Alright, so there's the end of the song. And now is our part where you can say, you can find me on Twitter at It's Don Allen and at donallendoes.com and Facebook / whatever, I don't remember. Yeah, whatever podcast. You can go to facebook.com/whatever podcast and like our Facebook page, which I never plug. I always forget.
You need to plug it.
What about you, Justin? Where can you find me?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube /JPC. I also do some videos for Spawn First and RPGsite.net. So hey, you can check me out. I'm kind of getting out there. I'm sitting on the corner.
Cool. And other news, real quick. We will be on iTunes soon. I submitted our podcast to iTunes last week, but I still haven't gotten the link back. But we got an RSS feed because we got accepted to the SoundCloud podcast beta, which is cool. Because we get an RSS from that, and then we can put that into iTunes. So hopefully we'll be accessible in the next week or so. That'll be amazing! Yay!
So check us out. Tell your friends. Tell everybody.
Please do. Hopefully we'll be a nice, healthy listenership, based podcast. And not too long. But anyway.
And you can't get the fake advertisements anywhere else. Or maybe you can, but ours are better.
I don't know if anybody else does that. I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's kind of like our thing. Yeah, it's kind of like a reason people come to listen. But
exactly,
among other things, like our amazing personalities. So okay, thanks for listening tonight, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Have a happy, safe Memorial Day, and we will talk to you again next week. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.
To infinity and beyond.
And beyond that.